Local Order of the Day number 3.
Tasman Council, Validation, Recovery of Certain Rates Bill, first reading.
Mr Speaker.
Honourable Damien O'Connor.
Mr Speaker, I move that the Tasman District Council Validation and Recovery of Certain Rates Bill be now read a first time. Mr Speaker, I nominate that the Local Government and Environment Committee consider the bill. Mr Speaker, I have to say I'm not overly enthusiastic about retrospective legislation in the House. However, I am a very proud local member and I have spoken to the Council and agreed to sponsor this bill into Parliament where the Select Committee can give it due consideration. The purpose of the bill is to correct a number of irregularities that occurred when the Council set and assessed the rates for the Tasman District Council between 2003 and 2009. The Council also wants to address the irregularity with the Liga Bay and Tata Beach stormwater rates that were set for the 2006-2007 financial year. Legislation is now the only way for the Council to validate these rate assessments and thus provide certainty for both the Council and ratepayers. The bill proposes to validate the rates set and assessed by the Council from 2003 to 2009 and any penalties added to those rates, to treat all rate payments received by the Council as having been lawfully paid and authorise the Council to recover any part of the rates and penalties for those years that remain unpaid. The bill also proposes to validate the stormwater rate for Liga Bay and Tata Beach for the 06-07 financial year. As I said, Mr Speaker, the origins of the bill lie with a 2006 decision by the Council to include the Tata Beach settlement in a stormwater urban drainage area. The decision was challenged by a ratepayer and led eventually to a review by the Office of the Ombudsman. Mr Speaker, I'm sure that ratepayer will present to the Select Committee and put forward some very sound arguments for his position. It was found at the time that the rate was not properly imposed. The Council had not complied with the Local Government Rating Act 2002 because it did not identify the category of rateable land in Liga Bay and Tata Beach on which the rates were set and assessed. In addition, it failed to include a map showing the location of the Tata drainage area. The Council then reviewed its processes and rationale for including the Tata Beach settlement in this drainage area. It did this through a consultation process with affected ratepayers where 3 options were considered. In the end, however, the Council determined that the status quo should remain and that the inclusion of the Tata Beach in this drainage area should be maintained. I should say at this point that Liga Bay and Tata Beach can be found in Golden Bay, Mr Speaker, about 20 kilometres from Takaka, which is about an hour's drive from Nelson. And as the name suggests, they both possess stunning golden sand beaches and are a wonderful place to holiday should you have that privilege. There's plenty of accommodation from basic through to deluxe, and I'd recommend this world, as I said, to anyone wanting to come down and visit a wonderful electorate. However, this business with the stormwater drainage area prompted the Council to undertake a separate review of its total rate setting process for 2006. This was subsequently extended out to cover the years of 2002 to 2009, and the review identified additional procedural errors in the way that the rates had been set between 2003 and 2009. Again, the Council was found in breach of the Local Government Rating Act 2002 because of the way in which it set and assessed rates during these years. These included, firstly, a failure to resolve and set and assess rates in accordance with Section 23 of the Act for some years. Secondly, resolving to adopt rates before the Council had adopted the annual plan and funding impact statement. Thirdly, a failure to state the financial year in which the rates applied, that they were payable by instalments, and the date that they were to be paid by for some of the years. Fourthly, a failure to resolve to authorise that penalties were to be added to rates not paid by the due date. Mr Speaker, the Council's practice of using its annual plan as its source of rate setting instead of resolving each rate individually was found to be in breach of the Act. This is because the decision to adopt the annual plan did not also mean that a rate has been adopted. This has raised questions about the validity of the rates and leaves the Council open to rating challenges. validating legislation is now the only way to correct the breaches and give certainty to all parties concerned. The Council accepts that it has made a mistake and is now taking steps to correct the situation. Mr Speaker, I do hope that the Local Government Environment Committee will give this bill a good and thorough hearing and allow all parties to present their submissions, but at the same time return it to the House in good time. Mr Speaker, before I end my speech, I must say that I have met with a number of ratepayers from Tata Beach and Liger Bay. They are concerned about the process and they will no doubt bring to the Select Committee what sparked this off in the first place. And believe it or not, it was the replacement of a large drainage pipe for a new area of subdivision which didn't affect the main area of Tata Beach, which has been there for some time. And so they have, as the Ombudsman and others have identified, a legitimate claim on Council for perhaps change. The Council has been caught in a situation where it does have to validate these rates. As I say, I am a reluctant sponsor of retrospective legislation. The main area that we seem to have this in the House is over fisheries legislation. This is not the case here. It's local government. Mistakes do happen from time to time. I know each and every one of the councillors in good faith took advice from their staff and of course assumed that they had put in place valid rating claims on the ratepayers. So this is perhaps a long and drawn out, quite expensive process, but it's one that we have to go through nonetheless. Mr Speaker, I commend the bill to the House. I hope that the Local Government Environment Select Committee will give all submitters a very fair hearing and make any adjustments necessary to ensure that this piece of legislation protects the ratepayers, the Council of Tasman District as well, but ensures a fair process for all ratepayers both now and into the future. Mr Speaker, thank you.
The question is that the motion be agreed to. Nicky Wagner.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I rise to speak on this Tasman District Council's